Hello everybody, how are you all today? Well, we had one nice day of weather. We're back to square one. It's like Groundhog Day. Rain, more rain, drizzle, sogginess. It's driving me absolutely nuts. I kind of made this promise to myself at the beginning of April that I wasn't going to talk about the weather anymore. Can't help it though. I think it's inevitable that we talk about the weather, apart from the fact that as Brits, it's kind of like our national pastime, talking about the weather. But you know, as gardeners, well, obviously it just has a huge impact on us. So, having to be a bit flexible. Now, the last time I was up here was a few days ago when it was our community day, and thank goodness we had good weather because it meant we could get the paths mown. Brilliant. And it was really nice to sort of sit outside and chat together and eat our cake. Fantastic. But as I was leaving that day, I hadn't really done very much in my garden, apart from the trim and trim, just because by the end of doing all the community work I'm always so shattered that I just have to go home. But as I was leaving, I kind of had a bit of a panic. Now, I'm the first one to always be saying, don't panic, there's time, what have you. But I started to think about everything that needs doing. And I suddenly felt, well, I was on the verge of feeling overwhelmed. So rather than actually feel overwhelmed and get into a panic, I went home and I made a list and I wrote down absolutely everything I could possibly think of that I would either need to do or would like to do between sort of now and the end of May. And the fact is, this is the busy time of year, apart from autumn, which is even busier because it's all the harvesting and bottling and what have you. But yeah, it's a busy time of year. So if you are feeling a bit overwhelmed and a bit panicky, I think that's normal. Don't worry, we'll get there. So what I've had to do with my list is I'm really busy indoors at the moment. I'm just doing such long days on the sewing machine and other things. So I'm having to prioritise when it comes to the garden because I'm not having as much time here as I'd like. So if you're in a similar position, have a look at your list and think, you know, what is the absolute priority? So for example, in my garden, I really want to get that herb bed going. However, herbs compared with vegetables, they're just not a priority. They will be lovely to have, and I'm hoping that that little garden will be lovely once I get it going. But right now, the priority has to be on the veg because the veg are going to feed me. And although I use herbs in cooking, I'm not going to make an entire meal from a bunch of thyme. I need vegetables. So, if you're finding yourself in a similar bit of a panic mode, write down everything you think you need to do, everything that needs sewing still, and whether it's outside or at home or in a greenhouse, what have you, and then just go through and prioritise. And then hope that the weather plays ball, which it didn't do this morning. So I've had to switch my day around. I've done sewing this morning and garden this afternoon. But it's really damp out there. So one of my jobs today was sawing the wood. I'm not even going to try and bother because it's so wet and horrible. So instead, I am going to get some seed sown, which I'll show you in a second. And I'm going to try and make some sense of the shed this afternoon because it's an absolute pigsty chaos because I'm sure you're all the same as well at this time of year. You're grabbing things out from cupboards and shelves and things get left here and there, and then actually you can't find anything, or I know where things are but I can't get to them. And I think that feeds into that sense of, I've got no time, So I think it will be well spent for me this afternoon, time well spent, to have 15 or 20 minutes just to sort the shed out a bit. Then I can do my sewing. And then if the weather perks up a bit, I might be able to do some stuff in the garden. You see, I've put my glasses down. God, it's such chaos in here. Right, let's try and make sense of this shed before I do anything else. Oh, seriously, there's no room to swing a cat in here at the moment. It's a good job I'm not into swinging cats, isn't it? One little thing I did find the other day. Found that in a, can you see what it is? It's just a little, I mean it's silly, it's just a little row of hooks on a bit of wood. Found it in a little junk shop for like 40p or something silly. I thought, well, I can't even buy hooks for that. So I need to find somewhere to put it up, because that will be one less bit of clutter, won't it, if I've got somewhere to hang my bags and hang my jackets. Right, I've got a feeling it's going to be moved to here, moved to there. Okay, well, we'll need that for sewing in a minute. Okay, good, that was the main things I wanted to get at right from there, with some trays and some cells to plant in. Here's a lesson I should have looked ages ago. Most of the onions are still storing fine. A couple of them are sprouting. So I'll probably have the rest of these away home today. That's the last of my reds. I've still got a nice lot of whites to have. So yeah. Don't leave your onions at the back of the shed where you can't get to them. Right. Time to get on with some sewing, I think. Yeah. So, now that the shed has had a bit of a clean out, a bit of a tidy up, I'm so relieved to get that done. I can actually see what I'm doing again. It's just time to get some seeds in. Yay! It's always so exciting, isn't it? Here's the irony though. I'm planting for winter. So most of this, if you think of sort of the very late spring, early summer, early autumn crops, they're either going to get started at home because it's still too chilly, or in a few weeks direct in the garden. But I'm thinking ahead to winter so that when summer crops come out, I've got something to go in. So I'm going to do some favourites. So a bit of broccoli. I love broccoli, you know why. You cut that head out, you get all your little side shoots. When they're gone, you eat the leaves. Brilliant. It's a give and give and give plant. A Savoy cabbage. Some purple sprouting broccoli. My Cavallo Nero, the Tuscan kale, and some Brussels sprouts this year. Don't know where they're going to go. I'll think of that when I get to it. So that one's going to go over there. So yeah, it might seem crazy to think about winter now, but actually I'm a little bit late doing it this year. I would normally have it done by the end of March, so I do need to get a wriggle on. Fingers crossed. You know, it might seem a bit sort of too much planning or what have you, but I love to have these greens in the garden over winter. Firstly, because they feed me, obviously, But also, you know, it's a little bit of colour in the garden over winter, it's a bit of interest, it's a bit of something to get excited about. And, oh, what is that in the compost? And it's giving the soil some protection. So if you saw some videos earlier this year as I've taken plants out and given the soil just a bit of a tickle, the places where I've taken plants out compared to where there was nothing, where there's nothing, the soil is so compacted and horrible. I mean, I've said it over and over again, I'm probably boring you all with it now, but it's definitely something to think about. Have something in over winter to feed yourself with, protect your soil, have something lovely to look at, have somewhere for the insects to hide. No, not the white fly, we don't want those hiding. So all I'm going to do, these little cells are fairly small, so I'm just going to sow one in each corner of each cell. So I'll end up with 10 cells per veg, 4 times the 10, so 40. So in theory, I could have 40 little plants. What will happen is in about 6 weeks or so, we'll see how the weather goes, I'll prick these out and I'll probably just keep the 30 best ones, because that's about how many brassicas I can generally get into my rows here. Although when that time comes, to be honest, I'll probably prick them all out. Try to keep all 40. And then as and when any space appears towards the end of summer, get them in, yeah, somewhere. And then if I can't, I'll give them away, because there's bound to be 1 or 2 folk around who have just forgotten to do this at this time of year, and they'll get to September and they'll realise they haven't got anything to put in for the winter. So it'll be a really nice little surprise pressie for someone if I can say, here, have 10 cabbages, yay. Like I say though, at the moment, I don't know where the sprouts are going to go. Oh, but I do love Brussels sprouts. Yum scrum diddly. These will now, once they're all sown, they'll just go in the cold frame. They'll be perfectly happy in there. It's not heated, obviously. Oh, and also, I've just managed to lay my hands on, well, I've spoken to someone about a piece of plastic to fix that busted out window. Yes, it's not, what do you call it, perspex, a piece of perspex. So hopefully I can get my hands on that this week maybe. Like I say, these brassicas, they won't mind it being a bit chilly. You might just, you know, they might not germinate straight away, but they will be fine. But that, I do need that plastic, because in another 4 or 5 weeks or so, it will be time to start thinking about putting tomatoes and peppers in there to harden off. But I want to harden them off, I don't want to kill them off. Right, sprouts done, and the variety is Grow Ninja. Grow Ninja? Grow Ninja. Sorry. So I'm going to label these straight away so I don't forget, and then get on with the rest. Where are we? Sprouts. Lovely. Lovely sprouts. I'm going to crack on with all these brassicas, and then I'm going to start in on some flowers. You see that? See my breath? It's starting to feel really, really chilly again, and it's a bit drizzly, so I'm going to finish my sowings off in the shed just for a little bit of protection. I'm just the brassicas are all done. I'm just going to do my flowers now. And this year I'm going to do, so some of them will be sown direct. Oh, here come the cats. Some of them will be sown direct, particularly the calendula. And some of all of these, probably two, but because I haven't quite decided where they're going to go, I'm going to start things off in trays. So I'm going to do some cornflower and some cosmos, which are saved from last year's flowers. I did save some nicotiana seed from my flowers, but I gave it all away. Gave it all away and then realised, I've given it all away. But I just found some of the seeds I started with last year, so it says so by August 2018, so hopefully they'll still be good. And then I'm going to try again echinacea. So I started them last year and they got away okay, and they got to about, you know, maybe 6 inches big, and then they just completely stopped. And then I forgot about them for a couple of months and they keeled over. So I'm going to try those again this year. I'm also, because it's another bit of a rainy day project, I'm going to carry on labelling my rocks as my plant labels, because I don't think the foxes will be able to carry that off. So, I can't believe it's, where are we, beginning of April? And I'm seeing my breath, it's crazy. So, let's start with the cornflower. They're such funny little seeds, they're like little fluff balls. Little fluffy darts. Can you see that? Just looking at, look at my filthy hands. Little fluff darts. So I'm just going to, I'm not worrying about how many are in each station. Just a little sprinkling, maybe sort of anywhere between 5 and 10. And then what I do when it comes to, I don't prick these out. All I do is take the whole, so they're quite big cells, they're sort of 2 inches by 2 inches. So what I'll do when it comes time for planting is I just take the whole plug out and put the whole plug into the ground, so they form a little clump. And I found that to be, yeah, it's effective, it works. And let's face it, when it gets to the time of when you would be thinking about pricking these out, there's so many vegetables to be seen to, that I just don't have time for mucking about with the flowers. I do like having flowers on the plot. You know, they're pretty, they're a bit of colour. Oops, lost a couple. But for me, the main reason of having the flowers is to help all the other insects. So they're not a priority by any means, which is why I'm trying to do it this way, because it saves time, etc, etc. I do want to have them, but I don't want it to be a big faff to have them. Now I've left my compost out there. Right, I'm going to go and get the compost and carry on with the next 3 or 4 trays, and then I'll catch up with you. I am cold. So even though I looked at the forecast this morning, I mean, I look at the forecast every night for the whole week ahead, I wasn't expecting it to be this brisk. Just reaching for another tissue. It's a good reminder, excuse me, that, you know, even when we have a lovely day or a lovely couple of days, don't be too eager to rush out and, you know, I know there's a lot of you whose windowsills and conservatories are absolutely chock full of your pricked out and potted on things like tomatoes and peppers and chilies. But really, please don't be tempted to put them out yet, unless you have a heated greenhouse, which I don't think many of us do we? I mean, I don't even have a greenhouse, never mind a heated one. You think about it, you know, I've got all my lovely layers of clothes on. I'm, you know, a human being. I'm designed to go down to 0 or whatever. And I've been here just a couple of hours and I feel really, really chilly. So imagine your poor tomato plant that's been in your lovely warm conservatory for the last few weeks. You suddenly put it out in this, game over. So, yes, we do have some nicer days coming up, but just keep an eye on the nighttime temperatures. Don't be in a rush to be putting things out there. Don't be in a rush even with your direct sowings. I will start to do some of mine over the next couple of weeks, but we're not out of the woods yet in terms of the cold. I can just see my breath. It's crazy. It's what are we now? The 8th, 9th, 10th, something like that of April. Oh, I'm a dragon again. Anyway, because I'm so cold, I'm going to go home. But, you know, it was worth getting down here today. That's my brassicas sown, my flowers sown, apart from my direct sowings. The shed has had a tidy up. Hooray! That was really, it wasn't urgent, but it was getting really annoying, sort of having to climb through and root through things. So that's going to make life easier. Good stuff to do on a grey, drizzly day. Now I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for a nice dry day so I can get on with stuff out there. But for now, I'm going to say cheerio. I hope you're all staying snug and doing things which are warm and lovely. It'll be summer one day, don't worry. In the meantime, have fun whatever you're getting up to. Stay cosy. Eat some gorgeous warm stews and soups. And I'll see you all again really soon, I hope. Take care.